Welcome back to another no-knock raid on the Pentagon. Today, on Filter Firearms, we're going to be discussing the B&T GHM9. So this is our first real entry into the PCC game, and TLDR, this gun's really, really awesome. Highly recommend it, and we're going to get in-depth about why it's such a great direct blowback, probably the best direct blowback PCC on the market. Alright, so as usual for our Copycat Garanthem or not Copycat Garanthem channel, we're going to be going butt to tip. And first off is the stock. This stock is a PDW-esque stock that is very reminiscent of both those on the MPX and the ripstock from CMMG. It like kind of remembers, but it's really just remembering this position wherever the stopper is. You can have it in the smallest configuration, which is super tiny, and then just pull, and it goes all the way out to the full size. And then you have your PCC, or pistol, because this is considered the tailhook brace, which is a pistol brace in the eyes of the GATF. So thank you for that, NFA and GATF. This is a really reliable stock. We haven't had too many issues with it. We did have a really weird thing where we couldn't access this third slot that it's in right now because these plastic parts right here were blocking it, and then one time we just kind of ripped it out all the way and it broke off right there, and then we were able to access the farthest part, and now it's a fully functioning stock. So parts failure, but it worked out for our benefit. It's very interesting, but I'm not complaining. Moving up from there, we have the upper and lower and how they operate. It's like, again, a mix of the MPX and just a CZ Scorpion. So the lower starts here, and the upper's pins are right here and right here, and it disassembles like an AR where the tail hook can pop off on its own, and then you can separate the upper from the lower, just like an AR, which we will get into later specifically with the trigger assembly. Next is the grip. This is pretty much where they just stuck an FAL grip, made the angles steeper, and if you have gargantuan Yeti hands, you're going to have plenty of room, because I have regular sized people hands, wear medium gloves, and there's room for a whole nother finger on here. It's pretty skinny overall. I like the grip. The texture's fine. It's a PCC grip. The only downside, if you really care about it, is that you can't switch it out. If you don't like this grip, tough luck. That's a bummer. And they have the tactical storage pouch if you want to hear your rounds rattling inside there because you jammed 4 9mm rounds in here for no reason. We bought this gun with the Franklin Armory binary trigger already installed. It's a really, really fun trigger, on top of the fact that it's better than the stock trigger. So if you don't know how it works, you flip the gun to fire, pull the trigger once, and then you reset and you pull the trigger again, just like a normal AR. Or you can set it to binary, and you pull the trigger, sear drops, and then when you let go of the trigger, whoa, it went dead. Let's try this again. Pull the trigger, drops, pull the trigger again, drops. That was weird. We never had that happen. Very interesting. But it works just like any other selector switch. If you had that third hole drilled, which you can't do legally, don't make an illegal full auto firearm without the ATF's approval. But it is kind of circumventing that full auto restriction, because you can really rip this thing. We'll probably add some clips in where you can just rip this thing at almost like 800 rounds a minute. Super awesome. The next part is ambidextrous controls. This gun is entirely ambidextrous, and we'll get into the manual of arms later, but all you need to know is that the bolt release, mag release, and technically the bolt catch is all ambidextrous. You can drop it from the right-hand side or the left-hand side, and it works just fine. So, just like that. Now we have the magazines. The magazines are this smoky, translucent color, and you can see all the way through. They're standard 30-round straight magazines. I don't know why people are still doing straight magazines when for 30-rounders they should be doing curved like the MP5, but whatever. They load in pretty well. We did find that this is the one time where the 28 or 29 is better than 30 rather than on the AR. It's a needless argument. Really easy to come in and out with on the 29, but on the 30s, on a closed bolt, it's almost impossible to get them in unless you're literally He-Man. Then you have the mag release just down here, rather than just like the AR, and the bolt release is up here, just like on the AR. But the only difference in the manual of arms is where the bolt catches. It's ambidextrous because it's in the center on the bottom. They like took a playbook out of the P90 where they just put it in the middle. And so it's right here, and you have to push it in to lock the bolt back, and then you can drop the bolt just like a normal PCC. It's interesting, and I don't know if they just ran out of space, but it works, it's fine. It's just a manual of arms they need to get used to. Next, we have the operating system. The operating system is direct blowback. So you are going to feel this thing, and it is going to be quite the thumper. So if you're expecting to get into this and be like, oh, it's 9mm, it's going to recoil way less than my AR. If you have a well-tuned AR, it's going to recoil substantially less than this PCC, because the way that they delayed the time between when the bullet exits the barrel and when the bolt starts to move rearward, so that way it doesn't vent gases, is by delaying this with a super heavy bolt. And the reason that I say that this is probably the best just direct blowback PCC there is because they took the time and they put a really, really heavy spring in there, and that's why this receiver runs so far back, is because the bolt takes about this much space, and then the spring takes up another portion right here, and it's really, really soft shooting compared to things like a 9mm conversion, the Colt 9mm AR, or the CZ Scorpion. Up from there, we have the Picatinny rail. The Picatinny rail is completely fine. You have a quad rail, quote-unquote, at the very beginning here, and you can remove these. These are just M-LOK slots that they pre-installed Picatinny rail on, and you can just remove these two screws, and they operate just fine. We keep them on here because we like to mount lights and stuff. If you have the longer version like we do, where you have the 8-inch barrel, I believe, I would recommend, either doing this or getting angle grip, because what we found is it gets really, really hot after like 3 mags, and that angled grip, which is what you can only put on pistols because the ATF's really stupid, will help give you space between this handguard and your hand and stop you from burning it or having to wear a glove. What we end up doing is gripping it like this, where you have the magazine here, and your hand like this, and your thumb forward so you don't get hit if the charging handle's on the other side. It works just fine. It's adequate. I would recommend, depending upon what you're doing, keeping this Picatinny rail on or off. Then we have the charging handle. It's ambidextrous. It's basically like a SCAR charging handle, except it's not on top. That's what the APC9 is. It switches. We moved it over from where it came on the right side to the left side. Our only gripe is that when you aren't paying attention because you're at the range, you will slam your knuckle on this QD mount, which is kind of a bummer. And I took a huge chunk out of my hand doing that, but that's neither here nor there. I know. And finally, we have the barrel and muzzle. So the barrel on this gun also is really, really good. The Swiss did a really good job machining this barrel. It's a cold hammer forged barrel. It's awesome. We were able to make reliable hits at 80, 90 yards in our tactical bays at ETTS without a hitch on silhouette-sized target. And if you take the time to aim and get your face directly behind this optic, which is the MRO, which has a big problem with parallax, you can make hits out to 120 on a C-zone all day long. Now, what I think is really, really cool that they did is they took a play out of HK's book and they made it a tri-lug and threaded muzzle. So what we have, because our Octane 45 with the tri-lug mount is at ETTS right now, because it's in NFA jail, because you have to wait 11 months for a suppressor. We only have the pistol booster, but we normally run this with the Octane 45K, where you can just pop on the tri-lug, rotate it, and you're done. But right now, what we got going on here is the Hybrid 46 from Silencer Co. We ended up getting those 2 cans because of the summer promo. And suppressed, this gun is really, really quiet, just because it's a 9mm. This gun does get pretty long with the Octane, or the Hybrid 46, but the Octane only goes to right about here. And we can't recommend this gun enough, especially for suppressed shooting, and we would recommend it for newer shooters. If you want to lend a gun for someone to get into a rifle platform, this is a pistol, but I mean it operates more like a rifle. Throw a suppressor into the mix. It's not too gassy. It weighs 5.6 pounds with a 30-round mag in it, and we really can't recommend this enough for your first PCC if you don't want to drop a ton of money on a roller delayed or on a JP or something like that. Check us out at filterfirearms.com, and we will be posting more videos thanks to COVID-19. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time.